Here's your news rush for August 24, 2026. 6 stories. Let's go. The U.S. just moved from threatening Iran's economy to actually attacking it. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the U.S. is unveiling what he calls the single greatest financial offensive ever against Iran, posting that, quote, "At dawn begins an economic D-Day." Unlike earlier threats, officials say this sanctions push directly targets Iran's trade partners too, including countries like China that keep buying its oil. Iran's national security chief says Tehran will, quote, "retaliate in a seismic manner and treat any country backing the sanctions as committing an act of war." Reports say Iran's currency has already plunged to a record low in anticipation. That means the economic damage started before the sanctions even officially hit. Subscribe for more. That's world news, fast. Iran just carved out one specific exception to a blockade it has held firm on for months. Iranian state media says Iran has granted permission for a number of Iraqi oil tankers to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, after repeated requests from Baghdad, reportedly because Iraq has, quote, always stood up to the United States. The request came up during a visit by Iran's parliament speaker to Iraq this week. But officials say the strait remains closed in the same holding pattern for everyone else, with talks with Oman still the only path toward a broader reopening. That means Iran isn't reopening the strait, it's rewarding one specific relationship while keeping the blockade on everyone else. Subscribe for more. That's world news, fast. 2 countries that have been trading strikes just sat down at the same table instead. Senior Syrian and Israeli delegations held U.S.-mediated talks in Jordan, with Syria's foreign affairs chief meeting the head of Israel's Mossad directly. Officials say the discussions focused on halting Israeli strikes and arrests inside Syria, and reviving negotiations toward a lasting security agreement between the 2 countries. The talks also touched on keeping rising Turkey-Israel tensions from spilling onto Syrian territory. These negotiations had been frozen since February, when the U.S. and Israel's war with Iran began. That means this is the first real sign diplomacy between Syria and Israel is starting to thaw again. Subscribe for more. That's world news, fast. One state just froze a fifth of the entire country's data center construction pipeline. Texas Governor Greg Abbott ordered a statewide audit of every data center requesting to connect to the state's power grid, effectively pausing new projects until it's complete. Officials say the numbers behind the freeze are staggering: requests for 474 gigawatts of power, about 5 times the state's own record peak demand, with 90% of new power requests coming from data centers alone. Analysts say almost 20% of the entire U.S. data center pipeline is now at risk of delay because of one state's pause. That means Texas just became the bottleneck for the whole country's AI build-out. Subscribe for more. That's world news, fast. We told you this storm was coming, now it's actually here. Tropical Storm Moke is sideswiping Hawaii's Big Island with sustained winds around 40 miles per hour, with forecasters warning of 5 to 15 inches of rain and wind gusts near 50 miles per hour, triggering a wind advisory. The danger isn't just the storm itself, it's where it's hitting. Forecasters say the same areas Hurricane Lala flooded just last weekend are now at risk again, and because the ground is already saturated, it will take far less rain to trigger dangerous flooding and mudslides than it normally would. That means this storm doesn't have to be as strong as Lala to be just as dangerous. Subscribe for more. That's world news, fast. A group of university students just built something that could bring hospitals to places that have never had one. 23 students from Eindhoven University of Technology in the Netherlands unveiled Stella Juva, which they call the world's first solar-powered ambulance, capable of up to 715 kilometers on a sunny day. Unlike a normal ambulance, Stella Juva is designed to function as a mobile hospital itself, equipped with an X-ray machine and ultrasound scanner for blood tests, vaccinations, and even pregnancy scans on-site. The team says the vehicle is being tested this month with the health organization Amref Health Africa in Kenya. That means the next patient it treats might be someone who would otherwise have to travel hours just to see a doctor. Subscribe for more. That's world news, fast. That's your news rush for today. Subscribe so you never miss a day.